All right, welcome to the Here's the Deal channel. Thank you guys for joining. Sorry I'm a minute late. I wanted to talk about this. This just recently happened within the last couple hours. Let me just make sure that you guys can hear me okay. Make sure we don't have any reverb. If you guys can hear me, YouTube up the algorithm for your content. I can't post my comment. Yeah, it's going to be bad. So, hey, let me just say I'm going to cover this as though it were a legitimate news story. But I want to tell you, when you put something out on the internet, it is forever. Data miners are forever scraping through comments to figure out who they need to visit. So be very careful. And I'm not into censorship. So, if you want to post something in the comment section, feel free to post it. But you got to be aware that whatever you put out on the internet could come back at you in a court of law. So, behave appropriately. Now, before I go over this, because we have 8 police officers shot and 4 of them died in Charlotte. But I want to start off this video, this live stream, with the comments or the conclusion by the Mullen Commission, which was hired to investigate the systemic corruption within the New York City Police Department. And we always talk about bad apples, and there's just a few bad apples and the rest of the people in the bushel on local law enforcement agency departments that they're good, and people in the sheriff's department, all the deputies are good, and it's just a few bad apples spoiling the whole bunch. But that's not what the Mullen Commission said. And there's some serious information and truth we have to come to grips with. The Mullen Commission issued this report in July of 1994, and they concluded today's corruption is not the corruption of the Knapp Commission days. Now, the Knapp Commission was another commission assigned to investigate widespread systemic corruption within the New York City Police Department. And they said back in the 70s that it's horrible. We can't find any good people. The corruption then was largely a corruption of accommodation in the Knapp Commission days. Criminals and police officers giving and taking bribes. It's like, oh yeah, this was a daily occurrence, buying and selling protection. Corruption was, back in the Knapp Commission days, in its essence, consensual. Today's corruption in the Mullen Commission days, 20 years after the Knapp Commission, is characterized by brutality, theft, abuse of authority, and active police criminality. So let's get to this story. And before I do, I want to ask you a question. If you lived in World War II Germany, and you know why I'm picking that period of time and that particular location, and you woke up and in the morning with your cup of Java, you were reading the newspaper and you read about 8 SS soldiers being shot at and 4 deceased, how would that make you feel? How would you feel about SS soldiers? Or if you read in the paper, maybe you lived in Chicago in the 1930s, and with your coffee and donuts, you read in the paper, you saw on the boob tube, which not many people had in the 1930s, but you saw that 8 members of the Gambino crime family, while they were visiting an apartment complex, were shot at, and 8 got hit and 4 lost their lives. How would that make you feel in Chicago in the 1930s? So we're going to look at what happened here in Charlotte, North Carolina, about this search or this warrant that was served by the U.S. Marshals and by a couple other members of the agencies over there in Charlotte. Let's check this out.
Investigation into that horrific shootout in North Carolina that killed 4 officers and wounded 4 others, all trying to serve an active felony warrant when the suspect opened fire. ABC's Faith Abube describing the moments that followed.
4 police officers killed and 4 others injured after trying to serve felony warrants in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Shots fired at officer, possibly 1.
Okay, now get this. They were there to serve felony warrants. Stay tuned because we're going to get into that.
Down. Correction, 2 down. Subjects barricaded himself.
The officers, part of a U.S. Marshals fugitive task force, descended on this home looking for convicted felon, 39-year-old Terry.
Convicted felon. How many deaths? Is this a Ted Bundy situation? Is this a Jeffrey Dahmer scenario? Was there a school shooting? Hold up at a bank? Couple security guards died. How many people did he victimize? How many people? I mean, it was so serious to serve a warrant on this guy. How many people did he harm? Did he threaten to harm anybody? Did he have somebody strap a bomb onto him? I mean, like what exactly classifies this guy as a felon, an active felon? Ooh, let's see.
Clark Hughes Jr. Authorities say Hughes opened fire on the officers. Listen closely, and you can hear at least one gunshot.
You can hear, yep, that was at least one. It was clearly two. What's the news doing here?
As a stunned bystander records it all. Neighbors describing the mayhem as police took over their house.
They used one of our bedrooms to set up a U.S. Marshal sniper in.
I'm going to play that over. They used one of the bedrooms of a house nearby to set up basically a headquarters for the marshals. They took over some person's house. Let me ask you, I don't know, maybe it was with the consent of the homeowner. I don't know. Or maybe they did it without his consent. I don't know. I'd really like to know. But would you want the U.S. Marshals, would you invite them into your house so that they can set up a sniper's nest? Interesting. This story has a lot of twists and turns and facets that mainstream, fake stream, CIA, infiltrate Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media just ain't going to go into.
Took over their house.
They used one of our bedrooms to set up a U.S. Marshal sniper in.
Helicopters hovered and schools put
How American of you to let the U.S. Marshals set up headquarters, man.
Lockdown during the 4-hour standoff.
We were at the track and
Yeah, that sounds like the Third Amendment. I don't know. Quartering troops. Come on.
we could hear a lot of gunshots.
Overnight, Officer Joshua Iyer, a 6-year veteran of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, succumbing to his injuries.
Now, I don't know anything about this guy, but I do know about the Mullen Commission. I know they couldn't find one non-corrupt cop. I'm not saying he is, but they're going to memorialize these people. They're going to have parades for them. They're going to set up GoFundMes that are going to create millions and millions of dollars of cash flow. They're going to, the pensions are going to go out to the families. They're going to be set up as heroes. You're going to see the thin blue line flags over the bridges, the overpasses. It's going to happen. Get ready for it, because there were 4 of them. 8 of them got shot. A couple other they might not make it either. I mean, we're talking about blocking off roads, halting progress, jamming up businesses, just so they can make the entourage down the road. For the heroes, because they are heroes. A lot of people are rejoicing about that. I'm not rejoicing because I think you should comply whenever, every time. They can't be wrong. They can't be wrong. And when they're serving a warrant, man, it's almost like Jesus is coming to your door. Just comply. Just roll over. Do what you're told to do. Be American. It's the land of the free, home of the brave. And these boys in blue, they're putting it all on the line every single day for me and you.
Leaving behind a wife and 3-year-old son.
Keep
That's
your
sad.
prayers, keep your faith. Make sure that these officers who have families have people to reach out and hold them up.
And officers Sam Pelosi and William Elliott also died in that shootout. We're waiting for identification of the 4th officer. In the meantime, the police chief says 4 other officers wounded in the shooting are stable, and the suspect died on his front lawn in the shootout with police. In Charlotte, North Carolina.
We're going to find out about that guy here in a second. We're going to watch another clip here. There's another 2 clips that are pretty interesting because each clip has something different to offer that needs to be investigated, frankly.
New developments are overnight following a dark...
Watch how mainstream media does for the boys in blue. I mean, there's some massive coverage here, massive positivity, hero language, hero talk.
Day in Charlotte as an armed suspect opened fire on law enforcement officers.
4 officers died. 4 others remain in the hospital this morning.
Yeah, I agree. It wouldn't be quartering troops, because quartering is basically you're feeding them, you're giving them a place to sleep, and it looks like the marshals were setting up headquarters. So yeah, it's not Third Amendment type stuff, but it does make you wonder if the homeowner consented to it, or if the marshals flash their badges and go, "We're using your home, we're commandeering your home."
With Chief Jennings, I regrettably announce the end of watch of Joshua.
Matter of fact, if anybody lives in Charlotte and you know this guy right here, let's see. Where is he? Where's the guy who gave up his house? If you know this guy right here, looks like they might have just celebrated a birthday. They got this little banner right here. But if you know this guy and you're in Charlotte, and maybe we could get an interview with him and find out exactly what went down. How is it that the marshals set up this sniper nest in your house? Did you let him do it, or did they kind of force themselves upon you?
Iyer.
We'll always be indebted to Officer Iyer for his bravery and his sacrifice for this profession.
Sacrifice for what? Sacrifice for the people. Oh, he didn't say that. Sacrifices for society, for public safety. No. What did he say? Oh, he said sacrifice for this profession. Huh. Yeah, that's right. He made the ultimate sacrifice for this profession. You know, the profession that the Mullen Commission concluded is involved in, check that out, active police criminality. Not my words. So he made the ultimate sacrifice for his profession. Lot of little tidbits sprinkled along the way here.
We're learning more about those officers who lost their lives. A Charlotte-Mecklenburg police officer, 2 Department of Corrections officers, and a deputy U.S. Marshal.
And we know so many of you want to help. We'll walk you through the ways you can support our men and women in blue as they...
We will walk you through the ways you can help support the the SS, the men and women in blue. We'll walk you through those ways, says the media.
navigate this unspeakable tragedy. Eyewitness News at 5 a.m. starts right now. And
is it an unspeakable tragedy when a Karen Garner gets her shoulder dislocated and the 2 or 3 cops, actually, if you count Sergeant Metzger, throw her into a cell and then make fun of her while she's suffering in that cell right outside and mocking her as they view the body cam footage of the actual attack? Let's listen to what they said again.
This unspeakable tragedy.
Is it an unspeakable tragedy when a Chase Allen in Farmington just wants to travel down the road in peace, doesn't happen to have a metal plate on his car, and he loses his life as a young man? Is that an unspeakable tragedy? Does mainstream media ever speak in this language when you were the victim of a police raid at the wrong address? This unspeakable tragedy language? Do they? Maybe they do. Maybe they do. Typically, though, that's reserved for our heroes in blue.
Eyewitness News at 5 a.m. starts right now. And thanks for joining us this morning. I'm Damani Lewis.
And I'm Deneige Broom. It is 5 o'clock, and right now our entire city is in mourning for...
Now mainstream media is speaking for everybody. What's the population of Charlotte? Let's see. Anybody know right offhand before I look it up? What's the population of Charlotte? $897,720. So, you know what happens when you assume. So the population of Charlotte, North Carolina is 897,000, almost 900,000 people. So mainstream media here is presuming to speak on behalf of all the inhabitants, the entire population of Charlotte. Let's listen to that again. This language, I mean, people can say, oh, you're nitpicking. No, words matter. And propaganda matters. Incessant propaganda matters. Listen to this.
Off Broom, it is 5 o'clock, and right now our entire city is in mourning for officers.
Our entire city is in mourning. Do you think the people whose lives were wrecked and ruined by people that march under the thin blue line are in mourning right now? Do you think any member that was negatively affected by Ted Bundy or Jeffrey Dahmer or John Wayne Gacy, do you think any member of that family is in mourning for the eventual demise of those people who basically left a life of absolute destruction. Do you think any of those people are in mourning for those people who met their end and came face to face with karma? The entire city, huh? That's just crazy.
5 o'clock, and right now our entire city is in mourning.
The entire city's in mourning. I just can't even get over that.
Officers were shot and killed in an ambush.
Is James Freeman in here?
We have been monitoring.
Yeah, James Freeman says, ambushed, they picked a fight. They effed around and found out. We have a thinker among us. We have a thinker among us. See, that's what this mainstream, fake stream, CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra media propaganda seeks to do. It seeks to pickle your mind so you no longer have the ability to think critically, and you get cemented deeper in cognitive dissonance, and you basically glorify Stockholm syndrome, where you have this affinity, this attachment to your victimizers, to your captors. It's so fascinating to me. On a psychological level, it is fascinating. On a human level, it is disturbing and disgusting.
This story since it started around 2 p.m. yesterday. And here's what we know right now. 8 law enforcement officers were shot during the standoff. 4 of them died.
And the guttural response to people who aren't thinkers is, oh God, oh my God. Oh my God, oh my God, this is horrible. This is horrible.
Including a deputy U.S. Marshal, 2 North Carolina Department of Adult Correction officers, and a CMPD officer who died late last night. CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings says the police department will handle the investigation going forward. And we have live team coverage this morning to bring you all the angles of this heartbreaking and tragic story from our city.
All the propagandized, cloud-seeded angles from mainstream media.
We will hear from neighbors about the scene unfolding in their backyards,
the
heroic acts from our police force, and the U.S. Marshal investigation that started it all.
We're already talking about heroic acts, man. Heroic acts of our police force. If it wasn't for them, society could not maintain any level of safety at all.
This morning we begin with Channel 9's Evan Donovan, who is live outside CMPD headquarters to walk us through this timeline.
Everybody's all somber.
And Denise, that standoff started yesterday afternoon, just before 2 o'clock in East Charlotte on Galway Drive. And
it's his audio. We were in stereo. Now I only have it in my right ear, so don't adjust your sets. It's not coming from me. It's not even coming from this news station. This guy's microphone is on mono, not stereo.
Was live on the desk when we broke into your programming, walking you through what was happening to keep you informed and safe. Let's take a look at a map.
Keep you informed.
A better idea of where this happened. This is right off the plaza, just steps away from Julian Underwood Park.
Come on, man, fix your mic.
That ambush started as a U.S. Marshals task force investigation. Late last night, CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings.
Oh God, anytime I hear task force, I automatically think domestic terrorism is afoot.
That Officer Joshua Iyer of the Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department was killed after being shot during that standoff. He was in the line of duty assisting other officers. Iyer was a husband and a father to a young boy, just 3 years old, and a CMPD officer.
Guys, that is, I don't care how you look at it or what this guy's occupation is. There's a 3-year-old that doesn't have a dad. That sucks. That sucks. Now, there are some other things that people might say that, if you said it live on the air, there might be some negative repercussions for that. But there's a 3-year-old without a dad.
Officer for the last 6 years. He was actually recognized earlier this month for his dedication to CMPD.
Oh, amen. Amen, Giuseppe. Hey, James Freeman. We should do that. We should FOIA request the body cam footage of the task force who went to serve that. Because I'm telling you guys, we are not getting the whole story. Mainstream media is not giving you the truth here. They're going to obfuscate. They're going to deceive. They're going to distract. They're going to hyperinflate. They're going to exaggerate. There are things that they're not going to talk about. But yeah, we need to FOIA request this.
We'll always be indebted to Officer Iyer for his bravery and his sacrifice for this profession.
For the profession.
It was just last month I was in this very room.
It doesn't even say for the people. I mean, God, at least make it look convincing. He gave the ultimate sacrifice for the people, for that community, for that neighborhood. If it wasn't for these officers, man, people would, their lives would be just hanging in the balance. But he didn't even say that. Wow. From the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks.
Congratulating Officer Iyer for becoming Officer of the Month in April.
Officer of the Month. How many times have we seen Officer of the Year, Officer of the Month, and then just a couple months later we see like Matt Schneider. Remember Matt Schneider? Lackluster brought this out. Matt Schneider with the Glendale Police Department was hailed as this awesome, hard-nosed, heroic cop on Live PD or one of those cop shows. A month later, he's out there with his Thin Blue Line gang members torturing Johnny Wheatcroft in the parking lot of that La Quinta Inn in front of his children. And he doesn't see one day in jail. He gets acquitted and the judge feels all sorry for him. Well, I'm sorry, I've amended my ways. Probably kept his certification. He's probably working as a law enforcement agent somewhere else, protecting and serving the stew out of other people in other counties. Many times we've seen Officer of the Month or Officer of the Year and something completely unravels where it's like, you made him, if you made him the Officer of the Month, he was your top-notch knight in shining armor officer and he was bad. Holy cow. What about all the other guys that didn't achieve the illustrious status of Officer of the Month? Wow.
He certainly dedicated his life and gave his life to serve our citizens. And
no, there he goes. He did say it, to serve our citizens. But then what is he doing when he does that? To serve our citizens. What's a synonym for citizen? Don't ever let anybody convince you that you are a citizen. A citizen is a subject of a jurisdiction. Are you a subject? If you're a subject, you're a serf. You are under the rule and under the jurisdiction of another man or group of men. So basically, this propaganda machine that uses all these buzzwords and all these words that we're acclimated to and we just accept for ourselves, that's all part of the mesmerizing spell to get people on board. If you've never read about the power of propaganda, read Edward Bernays' book entitled Propaganda. Edward Bernays was the nephew of Sigmund Freud, and basically he was the father of public relations or the father of propaganda. The U.S. government hired this guy to hoodwink the masses into accepting the chains of their own enslavement.
You heard that right. He was officer.
So don't like getting back to this. Listen to this. This may seem mundane. This may seem harmless. It's not.
His life and gave his life to serve our citizens and
gave his life to serve like a master, serve, because the masters are the servants and the servants are the masters. You're a master, by the way. Did you know that? You are a master. You're a king. You're a queen. You're not a subject. You're not a serf. You're not a citizen. You're not a denizen of a city. You're not subject to the jurisdiction of another man. Not in reality. Maybe on paper, maybe according to their laws, but that's not reality. If it's reality, then that means another man has a legitimate right to claim your life and your property, or at least some measure of your life and property, which equates to your time and laboring energies. And that's not true. No man has that right. No woman, no group of men, 1 million men, 1 billion men don't have that right over one man. Because the most powerful and underrated and squashed minority on the planet is not black, white, Hispanic, Asian. It's the individual. Unless you can champion the cause of individual rights, you don't know what rights are. So when they call you a citizen, don't buy into it. You're not a denizen. Don't let them degrade you by accepting these euphemisms, because, citizen is a euphemism for servant or slave or the enslaved or the subject one, the subjected one.
You heard that right. He was Officer of the Month just last month, or earlier this month, I should say. We learned the names of the 2 North Carolina Department of Adult Correction officers who were also killed in this attack. Sam Peloche and Alden Elliott. They were both 14-year veterans with the department. A deputy U.S. Marshal was also killed. That officer's name has not been released yet. We are working to learn more about the U.S. Marshals investigation and what actually led to this first round of gunfire. Let's bring in Channel 9's Eli Brand.
Bobby, we give you $177,000 a year, and you can't buy a $14.99 mic that broadcasts in stereo from Walmart. Come on, man. Come on.
To continue our live team coverage, he is live actually near that home in East Charlotte. And Eli, residents who live near there say that they saw that ambush unfold right there in their backyards, actually.
They saw the ambush. Listen, guys. The people who laid the ambush for the guy they ended up shooting at were the ambushers. The people who say they got ambushed were the ambushers.
Evan, we spoke to multiple neighbors. They lived, they heard, and they saw one of the most horrifying and horrible days we've had here in our city in recent memory. Just a few blocks, actually one street over that way, over
Yeah,
my
the
left
bullies
shoulder,
are crying victim.
is where this incident happened, where shots rang out, killing now 4 law enforcement officers.
Stay tuned, guys, because we're gonna the suspect. We're gonna call him a suspect because that's what mainstream media is calling him. We're gonna look at the background of the suspect, and we're gonna find out how dastardly of an individual he was.
That had officers going through their home, through their backyard, trying to get a vantage point on that shooter that they knew were shooting at them, and that had already injured their brothers and sisters in blue. In some of the video they sent us,
Brothers and sisters in blue.
shots ring out.
Get in the back.
Horrifying video and sounds there of a scene where some described hundreds of officers responding. In this cell phone video, you can see police going into the home and yard of the group that shared it with us. They even say police used one of their bedrooms to set up a sniper to keep an eye on the house where the shooting took place. Another neighbor shared this video with us of the scenes outside as police moved in to stop the shooter and try and save the lives of the injured officers. That neighbor said the scene was clearly a serious one and ended in a way no one could imagine.
You know what I always wondered? I always kind of think in my mind, what if a group, a more powerful group, outnumbered this group of uniformed people? What would happen? How would the standout off play out? Like, let's say people who are, you know, I need to be careful how far I go with this. Let's say there was a movie. Let's say there was a movie where these Hollywood actors dressed as cops, and there was like 50 of them, 75 of them. 75 Hollywood actors dressed as cops, you know, part of this cop show. And they were surrounding this house where this person that they say was a felon was in. And then these other actors dressed in like camo. Let's say these actors were actors who were Vietnam veterans who died in Vietnam, but they somehow rose from the dead in uniform, and now they're impervious to pain, and you could blow them to pieces and they'll come back together. But they were fighting for Americans. And so what if this resurrected army of Vietnam veterans who cannot be taken down and taken out, but are fighting for true American freedoms, surrounded the actors in police uniforms in this Hollywood movie and outnumbered them and outgunned them. But the real good guys were the resurrected Vietnam veterans who were fighting for real American freedoms. And they had burning in their souls the spirit of give me liberty or give me death. Wouldn't that be? I always think about that kind of stuff.
That's when I was like,
yeah, but they would be good zombies. They wouldn't be bad zombies. They would actually be, you know, zombies that were fighting for freedom. But you couldn't take them down. You couldn't take them out. If you try to arrest them, they break the cuffs. You know, they look like they're people that can be taken out easily because they're skeletal and all that. But they're really working for us.
It's something serious going on. They had imagined they just going to work, protecting us, and then something like this happened devastating.
Did you hear what he said?
That's when I was like, it's something serious going on. They had imagined they just going to work, protecting us, and then
SWAT is here in our neighborhood, tearing up our yards and banging down house doors, but they're here to protect us.
This happened devastating.
That is the most dangerous outfit, the most dangerous and reckless outfit. As a matter of fact, here, look, wait, what happened to it? What happened to it? Holy cow, what happened? I lost my place here. Where is it? Yeah, look at these guys.
Over my left shoulder here.
How often...
Is going on.
That neighbor.
Going to work.
How often does SWAT get the wrong address? How often does a group of cops who's out there to, respond to a domestic violence case or whatever get the wrong address? Now, how many times does the Domino's pizza guy get the wrong address? Pizza delivery drivers not only get the address, and UPS drivers and all these guys, not only do they get the address right almost 100% of the time, probably 100% of the time, and the cops get it wrong a large percentage of the time, but pizza delivery drivers, according to some statistics I've read, have a far more dangerous job than law enforcement who says they got a really, really dangerous job. And you know where most of that danger comes from on the law enforcement level? Traffic stops. They get creamed by a passing truck, or a tie rod blown out, or a tire hitting somebody in the back of the head, or some distracted driver veering into the lane where the cop and the victim of the cop are pulled over. That's where a lot of the officer fatalities come from. A large percentage of them. A lot of injuries come from that kind of thing. That's why you got to question the sanity of the Supreme Court when they laid down Pennsylvania versus Mims. It's like, dude, do you guys not realize that, number one, traffic stops trump individual rights, constitutionally protected rights, and the supreme law of the land is supposed to be the Bill of Rights, not Pennsylvania v. Mims? Officer safety should never trump individual unalienable rights. And the Supreme Court actually admitted in that case, I don't know if you know this, but you know what? I'll make a separate video on that. But the Supreme Court actually admitted that when a cop conducts a traffic stop, it puts the cop and the victim of the cop in mortal jeopardy. And that's why we need Pennsylvania versus Mims, because it's going to keep both the driver and the law enforcement agent safe. So they admit through Pennsylvania v. Mims, unwittingly, that your life is endangered. It's put on the chopping block during a traffic stop. Look it up. And look up why. There's two things that Pennsylvania v. Mims did that the Supreme Court revealed themselves to be just the utter black robe demons that everybody thinks that they are. Number one, it violates individual rights, your right to be secure in your person's house, papers, and effects. And number two, it rejects and tramples on the Second Amendment. Why? Because Harry Mims was carrying a .38 revolver and his passenger was carrying a .32, and they got him on gun possession, firearms possession. I thought we had a Second Amendment, and I thought that Second Amendment was the supreme law of the land. Now you're telling me Pennsylvania v. Mims is supreme law of the land? Make up your freaking minds. Hey, Archie.
Something like this happened devastating.
Over my left shoulder here, you can see this one police car, another actually driving up. This is all we can see, as close as we can get, but just over my shoulder. That investigation is continuing as police try to continue to piece together exactly what happened here in this tragedy. We're working to get more information, but for now, reporting live, Eli Brand, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
Yeah, Eli, still so much that we don't know about exactly what happened here. And I had a chance to speak to those neighbors that we heard from right there in your story. It was harrowing what they went through.
Harrowing. It was harrowing what the victimizers went through. Just absolutely harrowing. Just hold on. We are going to get to the rap sheet of the felon who got truly ambushed in this situation.
The incident spanned several hours yesterday afternoon. The ambush shutting down highways, forcing many people who live nearby to stay inside. And during it all,
guys, let me just take a second to thank every single person who's here and who's contributing to the conversation in the chat room. There's 841 people here, 273 likes. If you like this content, if you like this kind of coverage and you want to see more, hit that like button and make sure that you share this video with everybody you know. And if you want to support the channel, you know, Cash App and all that kind of stuff. If you want me to read out, I mean, because there's a lot of comments going in. If you want to super chat or whatever, I just appreciate you guys being here. Your support and your like is the support. It's free support, but it's truly appreciated. Thank you. The goal here is, because truth fears no scrutiny, we're going to scrutinize this, and we're going to lift up, we're going to turn over stones that people don't want us turning over, and we're going to shine the light in the darkness that they want to be steeped in. because they want to pickle our brains through this kind of stuff.
Only Chopper 9
Oh my gosh, you know what that lineup looks like? This lineup almost looks like, and I'm not an expert on tactical activities, but this lineup almost looks like, dare I say, an ambush.
Was overhead.
318 likes. Who will be the 400th like? Thank you.
Giving a live look at what was happening. Now, we didn't show you a lot of that live look because we didn't want to give up officers' positions, but we had our eyes on it for hours yesterday afternoon. Channel 9's Amelia White continues our live team coverage now. She is walking us through the timeline before and after those shots were fired.
All right, here we go. Come on.
Evan, this visual timeline of what I'm going to walk you through this morning
Lay it
shows
on
the
us,
bravery
Ms.
of
White.
so many officers. Some video we chose not to broadcast live. It was important to us not to disclose the position of officers on the scene. From Chopper 9, we could see dozens of officers and federal agents run into.
It was important for mainstream media not to give up the positions of law enforcement. You know, the ambush position of law enforcement. Look, timeline of ambush from above.
Home, knowing many of their men in blue were gunned down. CMPD tells us.
Did you see how heavy that thing was? Look at this. That whole concrete slab, that concrete patio lifted up when his back tire went on it. Watch this.
Home, knowing many.
Here's the concrete slab right here. You see this? Can I expand that? Watch this. Can we? Oh, I know how we can expand it. Yeah, watch this. Watch the concrete lift up when that back tire hits the pad.
Many of their men in blue
right here
were gunned down.
Look at that. Look at that. That whole concrete slab just lifted up. That's how heavy that thing is. Holy schmolies.
CMPD tells us a U.S. Marshal task force was serving a warrant when people inside of the home opened fire. 8
just knocking over trash cans. Look at
enforcement officers were hit. Around 2 p.m., you could see an armed truck in the front yard and officers on the side of the house.
Now, waste management, whoever owns that trash can, usually it's waste management in that area, is going to send the homeowner a bill for what the cops wrecked. God.
Minutes later, more SWAT officers arrived, lining up here, taking cover behind a neighboring house. You can see them moving carefully toward the gunfire. Then this moment showing the rush to get an officer who'd been shot to medics stationed down the road. Seconds later, it's speeding back to the shooting scene to get another law enforcement officer. And here is a closer look at the home. You can see the severity of the situation. Dozens of bullet holes lining the outside of this back window. In 30 minutes, how officers...
Wait, you don't say. What did you just say?
Bullet holes lining the outside.
Dozens of bullet holes outlining the outside of the house. Huh.
Outside of this back window. And 30.
So he's being shot at, it looks like profusely, because, I mean, this is a chopper view of this. And look how big these, if those are bullet holes, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 at least. If those are bullet holes, those are some pretty big. What are they shooting? 50 cal rounds?
3 minutes, how officers got to those suspects inside. I'm reporting live in studio this morning. Amelia White, Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
That was not a very good timeline.
Amelia, certainly a harrowing few hours
yesterday
afternoon, and watching those developments live was really something in the newsroom. Thank you for that breakdown. And that timeline, folks, gives you some idea, obviously, of what happened yesterday afternoon. But the investigation really is still in its early phases. Investigators identified the suspect who died as Terry Clark Hughes Jr. He was wanted for possession of a firearm by a felon and felony fleeing to elude out of Lincoln.
We're going to get deeper into that. That should make every American go, what? What is the Second Amendment chap live over here? What's going on over there?
In county now today.
But he was a felon, Brian. He was a felon. Then what was he doing out? If he's out of prison, then he either escaped or somebody let him out. If somebody let him out, why can't he just resume with his rights if he's a felon? But what made him a felon in the first place? Why was he in the court system? Why was he in the prison industrial complex being churned out like a regular serf? Like, what's going on here? Let's ask these questions. Oh, we'll get to the bottom of that. Just stay tuned.
we will be working to learn more felony fleeing to elude out of Lincoln County. Now, today, we will be working to learn more about his criminal history, but of course, our focus.
Criminal history. That means, okay, so the assumption there, when I hear criminal, I think of crime. And when I think of crime, I think, oh, there must be some victims. And if they're victims, that means those victims were harmed, they were stolen from, their property was damaged, and he refused to pay for it. That would make him a criminal. So, gosh, he must have quite a rap sheet to go after him like this. With that volume of the deployment of resources and manpower against this guy?
Is on those 4 heroes. The ones
the
who
hell did he do?
Just doing their jobs. I'll be here live.
Wait, what did he say? Just doing the
4 heroes. The ones who were killed, but of course,
here, let's listen.
Our focus right now,
because man, they're hitting almost all the buzzwords on this.
On those 4 heroes, the ones who were killed yesterday, just doing their jobs.
The ones who were terminated, hey, ma'am, I was just doing my job. If there is a St. Peter, if there are pearly gates, he's going to, hey, what are you doing here? Oh, I was just doing my job. Oh, come on in, good and faithful servant. You were an order follower. That's exactly what we're looking for up here. No, I don't think so. I was just doing my job. That means, yeah, it may have been wrong. I may have damaged, destroyed. And let's just put it frankly, I destroyed a whole lot of lives, but I was just doing my job. It's their opportunity in saying that to offload a whole bunch of wrongdoing and to absolve themselves and justify further wrongdoing. That's what I'm just doing my job means. Hey, I'm not personally responsible for the evil that I'm about to introduce into your life. I'm just doing my job. That's a weak, evil, order-following, disgusting view of life. Because that's what the mafia said. That's what the SS said. That's what the Gambino family said. Hey, you're part of this family, you're going to be doing the job, okay? Yeah, Sadie over there, she's 2 months behind in her rental payment for that market she's got in the corner there. Luigi, I need you to bust those kneecaps out. We're going to teach her a lesson. We're going to teach all the other tenants on that block, you don't mess with the Gambino family. And then Luigi goes in there, boom, public outcry. Hey, not my fault. I was just doing my job. Well, your job was to bust out the kneecaps of that 75-year-old woman who's had that market on that corner for 39 freaking years and never harmed anybody. And the reason she's behind in the payments is because you guys increased the interest on her mortgage. But I was just doing my job. That means I'm innocent, even though I did something that may make it look like I'm a little bit guilty. But I'm just doing what I'm told. That's all I'm doing. And I'm a hero. I'm a hero in doing that. It's disgusting. It is something we should never tolerate. But you know why this is accepted? Because of propaganda like this. This makes it widely acceptable. It's no measure of good mental health to be considered, well respected or well adjusted to a profoundly sick society. It's never a good idea. If society as a whole sees that which is disgusting as that which is good, and they accept I was just doing my job, and then calling those people who are merely order followers heroes, then propaganda complete. We don't even need propaganda 2.0. Propaganda 1.0 worked just fine, thank you, and why change the recipe?
I'll be here live at CMPD headquarters throughout
I'm just doing my job is the conduit, or it's the massive tunnel in the side of the mountain that has unleashed the hounds of hell into the earth. Because it helps you sleep at night, because now you can engage in cognitive dissonance. You know that what you did was wrong, but you signed on the dotted line to do it. Therefore, you can justify holding that opinion and that opinion about the same matter. Unbelievably disgusting. And we're going to call people like Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer and John Wayne Gacy monsters. They are not near as monstrous. They're like the cute little gremlins from the 1980s. And, I don't know. What can you compare that to? It's like Godzilla versus the Gremlins. Big Daddy Government is Godzilla, and he's stepping all over the little John Wayne Gacy's and Ted Bundys of this world. It's like, hey, you think you were bad? You think you offed a whole lot of people? Government's going, hold my beer. Watch this. But wait, there's more. We're gonna get into the felony history, the criminal history of the guy that they, ambushed.
Bringing you the very latest from our team coverage. Damani Dinesh, for now, we'll send it back to you.
And of course, our thoughts and prayers continue to go out to all the men and women in blue this morning. We will definitely be thinking about you. Evan, thank you.
But what about, you never hear that about Karen Garner's family. You never hear about that, about Johnny Hurley's family. Johnny Hurley saved cops, man. With a handgun, going against a guy with a rifle, an AR-15 no less. The guy, I don't even remember his name, but he was gunning for the Arvada Police Department. He was, in his mind, he was going to off them all. And Johnny Hurley steps into action while 3 cops in the Arvada Police Department barricade themselves into the police department because they're so scared, because they said later on, quote, we were just outgunned. Well, so was Johnny Hurley, but that didn't keep him from stepping in to do the job that needed to be done, because Johnny Hurley wasn't a coward. But you don't see our thoughts and prayers go out to Johnny Hurley and his family. What's happened today is just an absolute tragedy. Maybe they said it. Maybe they said it on mainstream media. But for the most part, you hear that reserved for the heroes in the Thin Blue Line gang, not for the Johnny Hurleys and the Daniel Shavers and the James Boyd and the Kelly Thomases and the Eric Garners and the Karen Garners of this world. We need to bring up their names as often as possible. It's just so disgusting, man.
And this is
and then they talk like this. Listen how they talk.
And of course, our thoughts and prayers continue to go out to all the men and women in blue this morning. We will definitely be thinking about you. Evan, thank you so much.
You can't hear the sound of the video I'm playing? Please turn up the volume. It's all the way up. Can you guys not hear it? He was just speaking very, very lowly. And this guy right here had a microphone problem.
And this is new video we got overnight of a procession for fallen CMPD officer Joshua Iyer. Iyer's body was escorted from the hospital to the medical examiner's office. Charlotte Fire closed roads so law enforcement could pay their respects.
That is a great question in the chat by Uncut Ninja Dope. In what world is it wrong to protect yourself from thuggery? In what world?
And this video gives you an idea of the toll this kind of violence can take on fellow law enforcement officers. You can see officers and first responders gathered there, possibly debriefing and certainly mourning after hours on that scene. More video showed another group in what appeared to be a prayer circle.
An organization known for its support from law enforcement is jumping in to help the families impacted in the deadly ambush. Back the Blue started a GoFundMe with hopes to assist the partners, mothers, and children who lost their loved one. And Channel 9 spoke with the North Carolina chairman who says...
Let's get into this guy's record, this guy's supposed record. Where is it? Wait, I had it pulled up. Where is it? Oh, man, I got it. Hold on 1 second. Where is it? I like what Supplanter said. Can I not back this thing up? What is up with that? Supplanter said, nothing appears more surprising to those who consider human affairs with a philosophical eye than the easiness with which the many are governed by the few. Well said. Let me refresh this because I want to go. Yeah, here's this guy right here. This is Terry Clark Hughes. I just want to tell you that mainstream media and law enforcement, North Carolina law enforcement and federal law enforcement agencies are telling us that he had a lengthy criminal record. So I would expect to see many, many victims in his wake. Now, am I saying that this guy is a good guy? He might not be. There might be a lot of crimes, true crimes that he committed that aren't on the books. He might be a really cruddy person. I don't know. I'm not in this guy's corner. I'm not in the cops' corner. I don't have a dog in the fight. But we do know from historical precedent and from lengthy reports like the Mullen Commission that agencies like the New York City Police Department, and guys, don't minimize this, the largest police force on this planet, in this realm, The largest police force is the NYPD. They boast over 38,000 employees. They are the largest police force of any country, single police force. I think America, the United States has the top of the top 10 or the top 5. They have 3 of the biggest ones. It's like NYPD, the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department, but NYPD is the largest police force on planet Earth. And the conclusion of the Mullen Commission was the entire department was engaged. It was characterized by brutality, theft, abuse of authority, and active police criminality. So I of course wouldn't be for those criminals, and I'm not necessarily for this criminal. Or if he is a criminal. I don't know if he's a criminal or not. I just know what mainstream, fake stream, CIA infiltrated Operation Mockingbird, MK Ultra Media told me about it. So Charlotte, North Carolina, 4 law enforcement officers were killed and 4 others were injured during a standoff with a man who was wanted on warrants. Had to be horrible. Out of Lincoln County on Monday, investigators said the suspect was identified as 39-year-old Terry Clark Hughes Jr., the U.S. Marshals Fugitive Task Force. What did this guy do? Fugitive Task Force? You got to be somebody to be on their bulletin board. Was attempting to serve multiple warrants against Hughes at a home on Gateway Drive. Multiple warrants. He's a baddie, man. He's bad. When they were met with active gunfire, in other realms, that might be called self-defense. I don't know. According to the Charlotte Mecklenburg Police Department, Hughes was shot and terminated during the encounter. Says 2 other people were found inside after Hughes was killed. So what does that mean? Are they going to pin these killings on Hughes? Did the police department do it? Are we going to have access to the body cam footage of what actually happened? And when we do get them, are we going to get them 3 years down the road? Are those going to be heavily edited to make the police look as good as they possibly can? As we've seen in the past, CMPD hasn't identified either person, and CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings said Tuesday they are not charged at this time. Wait a second. They are not charged. 2 other people were found inside the house. Oh, after Hughes was killed. Okay. It doesn't mean that they were killed. Okay, I read that wrong. All right, North Carolina state records show that Hughes was convicted of breaking and entering in Pearson County. I wonder if that's true, because we've seen many people catch charges that they weren't guilty of, which is north of Raleigh-Durham. In 2010, he spent approximately 6 months in prison before being released in May of 2011. So breaking and entering, if it's true that he did that and he did it to somebody else's house, then he actually did do property damage and leave a victim. Hughes was arrested in June 2012 after a high-speed chase. In Alamance County, which is east of Greensboro. Deputies said Hughes led them on a chase at speeds of over 100 miles per hour after turning around to avoid a checkpoint, to avoid an NAZI checkpoint. At the time, he was wanted on several warrants in numerous counties for failing to appear in court. For what? He spent nearly a year in prison for possession of a firearm by a convicted felon and speeding to elude arrest. Where's the victim there? I can see how there would be a victim for breaking and entering, but I don't see how there could be a victim if he's exercising his right to keep and bear arms, which is not supposed to be able to be infringed. Convicted felon. If a convicted felon is out, if he did the crime and he served the time, then why wouldn't he be left free to defend himself? That's something I just never understood. It's like, okay, if you don't trust him with a gun, then why do you trust him to be out in society where he could get a gun anyway? It's just that, does it make you feel better to put it on paper that he can't have a gun? And then if you ever find out if he does have a gun, you can arrest him and put him back in the prison industrial complex again, so you can make more money off of another warm body. Hughes was arrested by CMPD on multiple drug charges in May 2024. Okay. Life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. He was also charged with fleeing and eluding arrest with a motor vehicle. But why were they chasing him? And why would you chase somebody going 100 miles per hour? Because we got to bring him down, because we got to protect the public. and the general welfare. Well, if the general welfare is your object, if general welfare is your goal, and you think that speeding 100 miles an hour down the road is dangerous, then how is 5 people speeding down the road at 100 miles an hour less dangerous? It's just crazy to me that they can put a bird in the air, track where this guy is, find out what his license plate number is, if he stole a vehicle or whatever, and then just wait instead of chasing this guy and make him speed up more. It's never made sense to me. He was released from jail hours later, court records show the charges out of Mecklenburg were dismissed. Oh, the charges out of Mecklenburg were dismissed? Which ones were those? District Attorney Spencer Merriweather stopped prosecuting many drug crimes. Oh, it's the drug crimes as the planned organized partial shutdown of the U.S. economy advanced. Let's just put it that way. Court records show Hughes has a pending case from late 2021 out of Pearson County for possession of a firearm by a felon and possession of plant matter. What? So he was exercising his right to keep and bear arms, and he was pursuing life, liberty, and property, and that makes him a criminal? A warrant shows the Pearson County Sheriff's Office found Hughes with a handgun. Oh my God, he had a handgun. It's like Pennsylvania v. Mims. Mims and his passenger have a handgun? Well, so do the cops who just pulled him over. What's the big deal? Well, we can have them. In this state, you can't. In Pennsylvania, you can't have them at that time. You're kidding me. I can't have a handgun when the U.S. Constitution that you swore to protect, defend, and uphold says that you shall not infringe on my right to have an arm? Court records show how he failed to appear in court on the date of those charges in February 2023. You know, we personally know people who are in jail who have harmed no one. And the only thing they did wrong was they hurt a cop or a judge's feelings. That same day, the courts issued an order for the arrest that remains outstanding, according to the clerk's office. I am deeply saddened by the shootings that occurred. Where's the real crime? Breaking and entering is all that I saw, and that was back in 2011 or 2010. Breaking and entering, that's all I see. But that was 14 years ago. And he spent 6 months in prison for it. He was released in 2011, which is 13 years ago. But this is the guy that they ambushed? This is the guy that ambushed them? What a bunch of steaming BS. Unfrickin' believable. Look at this equipment that they got here.
House, a woman and a 7-year-old. The police took the fire, killing Hughes. But as they approached him, Chief Jennings says someone from inside the house started shooting.
Look at that. They got the mobile command unit.
Injuring officers
they got the
who rushed
MRAP.
in
They
to
got the
help.
SUVs. They got everybody walking around with, like they're fresh off the battlefield.
Tense standoff. The police took the 2 women inside the house.
Armored personnel carrier.
A woman and a 17-year-old.
Look at all the manpower. Think about all the overtime. How many hundreds of thousands, maybe $1 million is it going to cost this area just in personnel alone, not counting the fuel, not counting the property damage that they're never going to pay for?
Away for questioning, leaving everyone here numb and shocked at what had happened.
Look at this guy. He's got a big sniper rifle.
That we were.
I think I'm going to be like Chris Kyle, man. Look at this. This is my opportunity to really take some melons off
Everyone
the shoulders.
here numb and shocked at what had happened.
Look at the freaking size of that rifle.
That we were serving the warrant on was the individual who fired the initial shots and was deceased in the front yard.
Excuse me. I got a question, officer. Chief. What was the warrant for? It was for drug possession, and he shouldn't have had a firearm because he's a felon. Don't we live on American soil? Don't all Americans have the right to keep and bear arms? And aren't you as government not supposed to, infringe on that right? Well, yeah, but you got to understand he was a felon. Where in the Constitution does it say that the felon is not supposed to have a firearm? What if journalists actually did their job? What if they actually asked substantial questions that drilled down to get what the real answers were and just sideswipe all these euphemisms that they constantly use? And what was the other warrant for? Drug possession. Isn't his individual choice to ruin his life with drugs in concert with the Declaration of Independence the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. So what are you trying to enforce here? Would you have surrounded the founding fathers if let's say they had a backyard filled with 10 marijuana plants? Would you ambush them? Would you serve a warrant on them? What if it was Patrick Henry in there and he was like, give me liberty or give me death? And you're like, okay, we're going to serve you up death today. Is that what you would respond, Chief? Guys, this is a frickin' America. This is America. This is America. This is supposed to be the land of the free, not the land of the fee. This is supposed to be the home of the brave, not the home of the order-following coward. And then we glorify and we make these guys, we immortalize them as heroes. Unstinking believable. Unstinking believable. All right, that's an hour. I don't want to go beyond this. I saw that there was a super chat, possibly. Super chat from Flippin' Teggy. Flip. I'll just call you Flippin'. And SW Observer comes with the 5 Here's the Deal memberships. Hey, I appreciate it, guys. 572 likes, 958 people in here. Let's see if we can get up to 600 likes. It really helps with the algorithm. Leave your thoughts about this. I want to hear what your thoughts are. Keep in mind, keep them metered, keep them thoughtful, keep them logical. Leave your thoughts. Remember, the FBI, CIA, ATF, NSA, they're going to be looking at these comments. So, act accordingly. But let me know what your thoughts are right here. I am pro-American. I am pro-freedom. I am anti-tyranny. All forms and all shades of tyranny. See, what we need to understand is politics and law enforcement. It's like the clever and deceptive art of using euphemisms, lies, emotionalism, and fear-mongering in order to dupe average people into accepting and even demanding the chains of their own enslavement. And we've got to put a stop to it. We've got to put a stop to believing propaganda, believing fake stream media, which is basically the public relations arm for not only the military industrial complex, but for the local, state, and federal police force, who seems to be aligned against us because they're the ones who are creating the laws that are making us less free. The more laws we have, the less freedoms we have. The more restrictions, the less movement. And when you got that, you've got deteriorating, eroding freedom. You don't have advancing freedom. You don't have America getting stronger. You have them getting weaker, not only physically, but also in their minds, because now they don't know how to critically think and they don't know how to ask questions. And they are cemented in cognitive dissonance. And then they surround themselves with people who speak the same things. So now they're in an echo chamber. And then if you say something that comes even close to being in the field of truth, well, you're a conspiracy theorist. And they just broad brush dismiss you because you're not a part of the thin blue line boot munchers, leather munchers. So leave your thoughts about this. I really want to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate it. I will be live streaming on Chili's channel with Brandon J. Williams at 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. I think that's 2 p.m. Pacific, right? So if it's 4 p.m. here, 2 p.m. there, that means it's 5 p.m. Eastern Time. It will be on Chili's Delete Laws channel. That's Brandon J. Williams. If you don't know anything about him, it will be very, very interesting. If you guys can be in there and if you want to field some questions, I'll be glad to try to, pick some of those out and ask him those questions. So I appreciate you guys being here. The whole goal of this is to carve out more freedom for ourselves and our posterity. I will see you guys in the next video.